Welcome to the City of Coolidge, September 12th, 2016 council
Mr. Mayor, I'm
meeting.
not sure you got a
That mic's
microphone.
not
Is your
on.
microphone on?
The light's on.
Mine's on. Is yours on?
There you go.
Back right into it.
Doesn't work.
Take Ralph's mic. He doesn't need one.
Check. Check.
Yep. That
Yeah,
one.
we can hear you.
There you go. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Welcome to the September 12th, 2016 City of Coolidge City Council meeting. This is our regular meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order and proceed to item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And I would, before we start on the roll call, Norma, I would note that the Vice Mayor is here on a little speaker box. Okay, Norma.
Councilmember Gilbert Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Huddleston.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Lewis.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. Here. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a quorum. I want to move into presentations, item 4. This is a recognition for the Finance Department for receipt of the 2015 Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, the CARF from the Government Finance Officers Association. This is an award. I'm going to ask that the council step down here with me. I can give read the letter and give the finance director and the staff the certificate. Thank you. This is a news release. The Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the City of Coolidge by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for its comprehensive annual financial report. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. An award of finance reporting achievement has been awarded to the individual's department or agency designated by the government as the primary responsibility for preparing the award-winning CARF. This has been presented to the Finance Department and the City of Coolidge. The CARF has been judged by an impartial panel to meet high standards of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the CARF. The GOFA is a nonprofit professional organization serving approximately 17,500 government finance professionals with offices in Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, D.C. And I would point out that this is the 7th year in a row that our finance department has received this award. So I want to thank them. And Lisa, thank you. And thank all of you. Please thank the council. Here it is.
Before I have them go down and shake other hands, I'd just like to introduce them. A lot of you don't see them. They're sort of behind the scenes. Beth Studer is not here tonight, but she's the one that most of you would be familiar with. She sits at our front counter and takes utility payments. At the end is Rachel Duran. She's our accounting supervisor. Jody Williams is our payroll, and Mary Siles is in accounts payable and receivable. And they work really hard all year. In our CAFR, a big portion of that is the audit. And the audit, we have not had findings in quite some time, and they work really hard making sure that we don't. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good job. Okay. Item number 5 is a presentation by TransCanada to enhance community support for the Open Hands Outreach Program. Mr. Turner?
Good evening, Dave Turner, TransCanada Corporation, Coolidge Generating Station, Coolidge, Arizona. Today, we're here to support the Open Hands Outreach Program in Coolidge. Open Hands is a Coolidge advocate in Pinal County, obviously for veterans and those in need. You got to think about what we want to do in our retirement age. These folks are out there sitting in an office for 4 or 5 hours a day writing grants, out there in a van built in the 80s with a trailer that's home built with a dolly hauling furniture, refrigerators, and appliances to help veterans. To going down to a government office and standing there until that applicant gets what they need and they deserve. And we're here to present a check to Open Hands Outreach to help them keep up doing what they do best. And I know Diane wants to say a few words.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll make it brief. Pinal County has a high rate of people living in poverty who struggle to provide basic necessities for their families. Low-income families face many challenges: financial, employment, low-paying jobs, how to increase their income, being forced to choose between buying food or paying for housing or medical expenses. Meet basic needs of food, shelter, safety, feeding the hungry, temporary shelter, transitional rapid rehousing, permanent stable housing for families. That we work with the Coolidge Unified School District in their Vento program for their migrant and homeless children, and we have donated several times to help support that program. Feeding the hungry. 1 in 4 children go to bed hungry at night, not knowing where their next meal comes from. This is America. That's wrong. Volunteer soldiers come home and face many difficulties transitioning from military to civilian life. And we tell them thank you when we see them on the street, shake their hand, and tell them how much we appreciate it. And sometimes that's as far as it goes, but that isn't enough. We bring an initiative for positive change to bring community together with a common purpose, challenge others to focus on what they can do and how they can become involved. Effective, positive change by increasing awareness about the struggles of the working poor, single families, and veterans. Build bridges within the community that strengthen and grow wellness through programs for work. Hunger relief. We have been distributing food boxes to those in need since 2004. Last year, we distributed over 94,000 pounds of food. The results: nutrition for children improves educational outcomes and decreases dropout rates. The elderly health improves when they do not have to choose between medication or food. We work on mental health, addiction, and suicide. Many soldiers discharging from the military report mental health PTSD issues. Rising addiction among the rates among veterans and the youth, and suicide rates that are increasing in children between the ages of 10 and 17. That's not acceptable. We can do better. OHOP has offered peer support groups for recovery in a confidential setting. We are not VA. There's no names taken. The counseling peer support is based on the 12-step program. We offer mental health classes to the public by a certified instructor who's a veteran. I lost my place. We have the Kennedy House, which is housing for those veterans where they can call it home. We can house up to 4 veterans. It's here in Coolidge. Most are low income or no income is how they come to us. These are veterans. Is OHOP's desire to build community bridges for local residents to access programs and services which meet the community needs. OHOP's programs are about wellness of the communities we live in. When groups come together with a common purpose that educates community, increases awareness of the problems, and finds solutions together to address those problems, lives can be changed, families strengthened, and communities improved. We invite Coolidge to join in the efforts for change and strengthen the partnership between TransCanada and Open Hands outreach programs. Connecting communities with others as a volunteer requires a time commitment and a desire to help, and that's all it takes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know. Here it comes. Before I do, I want you to really appreciate part of TransCanada's continuing community investment program. We'd like to present this check for $30,000.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's big.
Councilmember Lewis.
I just wanted to comment real quick. You know, outside of APS, there is no other organization that is involved in our community as far as donating and helping as much as TransCanada. And Mr. Turner seems to be here once every couple months. And it is odd not seeing Tanner with him, who's usually with him. His son, who's another bright individual. You know, I think it's outstanding. And I didn't know how big this check was going to be, so that's even better. And as a veteran myself, I love the fact that we have a neighboring organization that's willing to help a local organization help our vets and provide the services that she mentioned. So I just like, you know, for me personally, thank TransCanada for what you do for our community, because without organizations like yourself and you, Mr. Turner, there's a lot of things that wouldn't happen for our local people. So for me, I really do appreciate that, and I'm sure every veteran in our audience and at home is very grateful for what you just did, and I thank you.
Nice job. Item number 6 is a proclamation for Constitution Week 2016. Whereas September 19th, 2016 marks the 229th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 19th through September 23rd, 2016 as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, John Thompson, Mayor of the City of Coolidge, do hereby proclaim September 19th through 23rd, 2016 as Constitution Week in the City of Coolidge, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. Item number 7, presentation of the 2016 Mothers Against Drunk Drivers DUI Enforcement Award. This is discussion only. Is that you, Chief? Okay.
Bring Captain Shaw up while he's making his way up this way. Mayor, Council, as the fire chief, I have the honor of giving both Captain Harrison and Captain Shaw this award on behalf of MAD. This year we had a DUI reenactment event over at the high school. There's a lot of people that participate in this. These two are being recognized for their part in helping prep the cars, arrange for the cars, making it safe, helping the kids do some proper acting to make it realistic so that the kids understand the dangers of drinking and driving and some of the consequences. We also had some of our some of our academy students out there, along with the schools, student actors and their staff, and the Coolidge Youth Council. And we need to thank them all. They did a wonderful job. But these two really stood out in making this a very safe, realistic event. And so we presented their what they did to MAD, and MAD decided to recognize these two this year. So for that, we have a plaque for Joe. I already gave Tim his because he left to go hunting.
Priorities.
Yeah, he had priorities. So thank you, Joe.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Captain Shaw. I would also mention that I did get a call from the West Elementary School Principal, Ben Armstrong, regarding an incident that happened on the playground, and fire department responded and did an excellent job on the child, and everything worked out, and he wanted me to pass it on to you, Joe, that he appreciates it. So thank you. Okay, item number 8. Proclamation Chamber of Commerce Week 2016. There you go now. Okay. I'm going to read this, Lynn, before you get up there. Chamber of Commerce Week, September 12th through the 16th, 2016. Whereas the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce works with Coolidge business, merchants, and industry to advance the civic, economic, industrial, professional, and cultural life of our city, and whereas the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce has contributed to the civic and economic life of Coolidge for 57 years, since the Chamber of Commerce was incorporated in 1959, and whereas this year marks the 57th anniversary of the incorporation of the Chamber of Commerce, the county's leading broad-based business organization, which serves as the unified voice for business, and whereas the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce encourages the growth of existing business, industries, and services, encouraging new business and individuals to locate in Coolidge, acting as a liaison with the economic development, local governments, schools, and the business community. Now, therefore, I, John Thompson, Mayor of the City of Coolidge, do hereby proclaim September 12th through September 16th, 2016, as Chamber of Commerce Week in the City of Coolidge, and urge all citizens to participate in the efforts of the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce to promote economic development and growth. And then we'll move right into number 9, monthly report and business spotlight recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the Coolidge Rotary Club President, Phil Bacon. And Coolidge was chartered on February 4th, 1937, and will celebrate its 80th anniversary February of 2017. Phil.
I forgot who I am. Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members, my name is Phil Bacon, and I am currently the president of the Coolidge Rotary Club. And it's an honor in behalf of the Rotary Club to accept this award. Rotary's motto is service above self, and I think Coolidge Rotarians have taken this to heart since the club was chartered in 1937. During that time, our club is involved in numerous local and international service projects. Annually, we participate in a shoebox project and a microcredit loan assistance project in Mexico. Our greatest focus, however, is to serve our Coolidge youth. Over the years, we have supported numerous programs serving youth such as Toys for Tots, Boys and Girls State, the Coolidge Youth Coalition, and the Coolidge High School Band, just to name a few. Annually, we award scholarships to the graduating high school seniors who live in Coolidge or attend Coolidge High School, and we also added the alternative school, and we added homeschooled. Last year, we were pleased to award 22 $500 scholarships to the graduating class of 2016. Another of our major focuses is sending delegates to RILA, our Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. This is a 4-day intensive leadership program which helps participants build leadership skills and self-confidence. I am happy to report that 3 of our current youth council members are former participants of this program. Annually, we raise funds to support these programs through our dinner and auction, which would not be possible if it were not for the great support we get from Coolidge businesses and its citizens. And I urge you to mark on your calendar, this year's dinner auction will be held on Saturday, February 11th at the Elks Club, and we hope that you could all be there to help us so we can support the Coolidge youth. I would also like to invite you to join us for breakfast at one of our regular meetings on Wednesday, 7 o'clock at TAGS, to learn more about Rotary and the Coolidge Rotary Club. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, Mr. Turner's son went through our RILA program, and he just excelled in it, and it really made us realize how great those programs are. So we're sending even more kids there. Okay, our monthly report for July is our reinvestments for July are Mount Athos Restaurant, Walmart, Coolidge Gun Guy, Norris Management, Discovery Mart, Access Arizona, State Farm, Insurance, Little Caesars Pizza, Colonel Richard Lister, Against Abuse, Walton Orthodontics, Health Choice Arizona, Southwest Gas, Gary Johnson and Associate, Arizona Captured Beauty, Right Away Disposal, and Griffin Specialty Products. New members for July are Arizona at Work, Syntech Solution, and Fairhaven Baptist Church. Our web pages are up 80% for July with 272 hits. Walk-ins was 423. Phone calls were 429. Relocation packets was 1. Top states that visit us was Michigan and Minnesota. The Casa Grande Ruins for July had 2,874 visits, and year-to-date is 53,337. Just so for our end-of-the-year report, we had a total of 8,941 visitors that came through our doors, 3,457 phone calls. I can't tell, the web hits they're up about 168%. The end of the year membership's 199, and comparison, we're up on all of that we've been doing. So we feel like we're going in the right direction. I'll encourage you to visit our website at www.coolidgechamber.org for all of the events. Any questions?
Yeah, one question. With all the visits to the ruins, is there any way to, because we had 2,800 in July, is there any way to tell how many of those each month we get are local versus non-local?
That's a good question. I'm going to say most of that is out of state, but out of area. but I don't know if I can get that breakdown or not, but I'll try.
I'm just curious how many people are coming from out of town, to see if we could find other ways to keep them in town a little longer.
Well, I have
I'm
one.
just curious.
I will check on that.
I'm just curious. I'd just like to know. How
Right,
many.
and that's a good question. The other thing is, if we can block that where they have to go right instead of left, I think we could get them. You know, if we didn't have that crossover.
Yeah. Well, they're about
Just
to
a
have
suggestion.
a brand new Circle K right across the street.
There
so
you
that'll
go.
help.
There you go. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just briefly, I worked with a lot of chambers in the past. Lynn Parsons and her staff at the chamber is one of the hardest working groups I've ever dealt with. Cares a lot about this community, and I appreciate all the stuff that she does actually for me at the city. The scheduling that she helps me with to keep me on track, which is kind of hard to do sometimes, but she's just a remarkable person. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, we're at the point on the agenda where it is the call to the public. This is the part of the council meeting where if you're from the public and you want to address the council, you have 3 to 5 minutes. Please step up to the mic and your name and address, and we can't respond to you, but we can listen to what you've got to say. So if there's anybody here that wants to do that, go ahead.
As I just commented, I'm new to Coolidge. I live at 1050 North 9th Street, Bacchian Courts, Apartments 13. I have met with Jake from Open Hands, and I'm volunteering at the Hope Women's Center. And tonight I'm just going to leave the flyer and show it. We're looking at doing a food drive, Halloween for the Hungry. I've done this twice before. And basically part of it is going, when everybody else is trick-or-treating, going door to door with a cardboard box and with this flyer, or a similar flyer, on the front of it, and doing a food drive instead of collecting candy. And when I've done it in the past, the response has always been really good. Everybody gave something, although one guy gave creamed corn because he wanted it out of the house because he didn't like it and his wife had bought it. And I am going to get more information to Norma so that we can get a better idea of it. But just wanted to put that available. I'll put it on the table over there. The other suggestion I have is I've started my own town improvement project. I'm going around, and I actually have somebody else from the complex going with me now. And we go around and we pick up garbage and we pick up recyclables. And the first time I got enough recyclables, I went on my way to Mesa because I have kids there, and I stopped at the recycling center and got paid some money. And we now have, at the Blue Star Memorial, we now have blue flowers planted there. And my grandson and I go water them. And he loves the fact that we go take care of our plant down in the Blue Star Memorial. And so, and what we're doing in the apartment complex too is we're going to be doing it with the residents as far as collecting the recyclables, and we're going to be buying plants for the apartment complex. So it's just my, I've already got one recruit from the apartment complex on what I'm doing.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff, my name is Jim Smith. I live at 440 West Taylor, and my wife, Stacy Humphreys, owns 2 businesses in Coolidge, Jugs and Strokers Motorcycle Repair and Tattoo Shop, and Mama Jugs down on Main Street. Interesting, I didn't know that it was Constitution Week. I didn't know there was going to be a proclamation with regard to it. And your poster that says, "They're OG." I'd like to speak about both of those things tonight. Since settling in Coolidge, we and the 2 businesses mentioned have been subjected to unprofessionalism, discrimination, rumor, innuendo, and hate. We've attempted to assuage these unprecedented and unwarranted attacks by meeting with council members individually, meeting with the city manager, meeting with the city attorney, And from our perspective, considering the disparaging interactions that continue to occur, these meetings have been to no avail. In turn, my wife and I have invested well over $100,000 rehabilitating a building that sat vacant on your main thoroughfare for years, rescued a business that allegedly was culpable in a shooting, erected a work of art that I dare say is quickly becoming a landmark in our town, brought 2 celebrities to our city, and regularly bring new visitors from across the state to our hometown. In any other community, we would have been welcomed with open arms and acceptance. In our fair city, we've been shunned, ostracized, and we've endured the following. Some of this you've already heard, but it needs to be said again. A justice of the peace who, utilizing social media, tried to incite discourse and question, and I quote, the biker influence in the city of Coolidge. Again, utilizing social media, a council member that stated that my wife and I promulgate a culture of death simply because of who we associate with. A council member who has blatantly stated that each and every vote that he casts on this council is based on discrimination. But I don't think the city of Coolidge or the representatives have the market on vitriol. A representative to the Arizona State Legislature provided quotes to the newspaper saying that he's embarrassed by having my wife's businesses in our town. A council member who has arbitrarily and capriciously indicated that they would vote against a gay, lesbian, or transgender bar simply because of one's sexual orientation. Mr. Councilman, you may be correct. This may be a moral issue, but before posting another diatribe against us, brush up on the law, because this is a civil rights issue. Please don't take my word for it. Ask the city attorney, Mr. Fitzgibbons. The council members need to understand that our laws are based on a rule of law paradigm, not necessarily a moral paradigm. If you can't honor our Constitution by setting aside your personal beliefs while carrying out your elected duties, then your resignation is in order. A council member who's spreading a rumor that my wife and I sell drugs. But our angst isn't limited to elected officials. I've worked with the chief of police, and he's been extremely cooperative with me. So we've kind of assuaged the police officers patrolling back and forth 19 times in front of my business. But state gang task force going to adjacent businesses and warning them to be careful and walk their women outside at night. 157 drive-bys on September 3rd past my business. 157. They brought officers from Tucson, officers from Casa Grande, and I'm proud to admit they stopped one serious crime in progress, jaywalking. I was stopped for jaywalking on Main Street in Coolidge, Arizona at 8 p.m. at night. That's definitely worth the taxpayer dollars that were spent in the overtime in bringing officers from Tucson. That's aside from the fact that the state police went to an adjacent business owner and asked them if they could use their place of business to surveil my event. This body has allowed members of the public to get up and infer that my wife and I partake in human trafficking and drug dealing, and that we're associated in some shape, manner, or form with the Mexican drug cartels. We're tired. We're really tired. None of these previously mentioned acts were anticipated, nor were they invited. We've done nothing to summon this type of reaction from this town. But from town officials, I've heard the rationale, it's a small town. People don't like change. We can't control that. To that end, my response. Coolidge is not a small town. It's a city. It's a city with approximately 12,000 people that encompass an area close to 88 square miles. There may be a prevalence of small-mindedness, but this isn't a small town. Change is inevitable. We need, as a city, to embrace change. We need to respect change. That's how a city prospers and it moves forward. Our city is a shining example of what happens when leaders fail to embrace change. And lacking control is a failure to take control. In any organization, inclusive of a geopolitical organization, there's a chain of command, an organizational chart, a system of redress. Prior to saying, I can't, ask yourselves, what can? In our case, I believe our city's failed woefully in asking that question. It's easy to go with the flow. It's easy to take the common way out. It's easy to abjure dirty bikers. What we're asking is hard. What we're asking is not popular. What we're asking is to be treated fairly, equally, and in accordance with the law. To that end, there's a bike run on October 15th. It's called Back the Blue. It's coming to Coolidge. Don't even know if you're aware of it. Our businesses actually go to the city manager or the council and ask permission and tell you what's on our agenda and what we're doing. But I'd like to see if there's going to be 40 extra police officers on duty or law enforcement officials on duty on October 15th and see if they're going to surveil Back the Blue riders. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Give up? He's been trying.
We'll see if I can actually be heard in this thing. My name's Dave Frappier, and I'm a member of just about every military organization you have in town. About 2 months ago, sitting in the mayor's office, he made mention of the fact that while driving to work in the mornings, he was a little embarrassed coming across Vacain and Main Street. It was filthy. There's nothing but a trash dump out there. Well, I took that to heart, and the following month, we got 47 people together from the Disabled American Veterans, American Legion, VFW, Boy Scouts, the Troop 0994, and we cleaned up that area with the help of the mayor and with the help of Mr. Miller, who came in and back because we couldn't handle all the trash we picked up. Well, the following month, we took on a project that I have been very criticized for because it was so huge. We got 27 people out on Skousen Road from 87 all the way to 287 and back, 18 miles, 27 people. We cleaned it up. And I'm here on behalf of the various organizations that I've been talking about to say thank you to the mayor and the city manager and the city council for their continued support of our organizations all year, every year. And what I did was I put together the map of the area that we covered, along with a picture of some of the folks there. When these pictures were taken, the mayor and his crews were still out policing up the road. But there's the ladies, and this is the Mayor John Thompson, Rick Miller, and the Coolidge City Council for all you've done for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to get a look at it.
I just didn't want to make that poor old man walk.
Yeah, I know. Very nice. Worn out, walking up and down Scott.
It's pretty good. It's good to have them downtown.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else, or we good? Okay. All right. Approval of minutes, discussion and action. Item number 10, City Council regular meeting, August 8th, 2016. Item 11, City Council regular meeting, August 22nd, 2016. If there's no corrections, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve 10 and 11 as read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries.
Jackie still on?
I said aye.
Okay.
No, Jackie voted aye. Business items for consent. If there's anything on here that you want pulled from the consent agenda, let me know now.
13.
13. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to read them off.
Excuse me,
Item
Mayor.
number 12.
Mayor, just make sure you read the correction on that one street
Oh,
closure.
I got it right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, consider approval of ratifying the grant agreement between the United States of America, acting through the Federal Aviation Administration, and the City of Coolidge for a grant of federal funds for rehabilitation and reconstruction of Taxiway B at the Coolidge Municipal Airport. Item 14, consider approval of entering into an Arizona Criminal Justice Information System user agreement between the Arizona Department of Public Safety and the Coolidge Police Department for continued participation in exchange of criminal history record information and authorizing the police chief to execute the necessary documents. Item 15, consider approval of street closures for the city's annual Coolidge Days Celebration Parade and Carnival set for October the 5th through October the 9th, 2016. The annual CHS Homecoming Parade set for Thursday, September 29th, 2016. And the annual 2016 Electric Light Parade set for Friday, December 9th, 2016. Item number 16, consider approval of entering into an entertainment agreement between Brown's Amusement, Inc. and the City of Coolidge for the purpose of providing carnival services during Coolidge Days 2016. Item 17, consider approval of adopting Title VI implementation plan with updates requesting by ADOT Civil Rights for the 2016 for the Transit Department in compliance with the Arizona Department of Transportation and Federal Transit Administration requirements. That one didn't read right. 18, consider approval of entering into a consulting agreement between Albert Haller and Associates and the City of Coolidge for supplemental tax audit services to include 10 audits for the amount of $28,000 with a termination date of June 30th, 2017. Okay, there's no, okay, this is just a regular vote. That's what I thought. Okay.
Motion to approve items 12, 14 through 18 is read.
There's a second.
Second.
Choose your second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 13. Consider approval of entering into a memorandum of understanding between the United States Border Patrol and the Coolidge Police Department for the purpose of reimbursement of costs incurred by the Coolidge Police Department and providing resources to joint operations/task forces, authorizing the mayor and the police chief to execute the necessary documents. Chief Malinsky, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members. Discussion on this action item. For many years, the Coolidge Police Department has been a participant in joint operations/task forces with local and federal law enforcement partners, including the United States Border Patrol. This agreement provides for the reimbursement of certain expenses incurred by the Coolidge Police Department as participants of joint operations/task forces with Border Patrol. By entering into this memorandum of understanding, the Coolidge Police Department will be eligible to request reimbursement of such items as travel expenses, fuel, training, and equipment incurred by officers assigned as members of the designated joint operations with Border Patrol. The origination of these funds is the U.S. Department of Treasury's Executive Office for Asset Forfeiture. No matching funds are required of the Police Department or the City of Coolidge for any reimbursement requests. And I'll be happy to try and answer any other questions you have.
That's good, Chief. How is this different than the other? Is there any difference between the other agreements we've had for equipment?
This is similar to Stone Garden, but it is not Stone Garden, although it involves the same agencies, federal agencies that we work with. It's just a separate funding source.
Okay. And what equipment are we looking to receive?
In July, staff went to a Stone Garden allocation funding meeting, and at that time, one of the items that we had put in for, which are rifle grade body armor, was turned down. After the meeting was over, staff was approached by Border Patrol employees stating that they liked our presentation and wanted to try and fund it, and knew or asked if we knew of their funding source, which we did not. So they explained it to us, gave us information, and we came forward with the memorandum of understanding.
These new ballistic vests that you just spoke of, are we looking to outfit every officer with them?
No, it's just a certain amount of the ones that are working these operations, and not every officer works these operations.
Okay. So if, for the officers who are currently working the operation, we get the funding, outfit them with the vest, then what happens if an officer who previously hasn't worked it decided, or a new officer, to work these events? Are they not going to be able to because they don't have, because to my understanding the vests are custom fit. I don't know if maybe they're not anymore. Is there going to be an issue with other personnel wanting to do this after
we could re-request for additional funds.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we're done with the discussion. Is there a motion of some type?
Yeah, Mayor, with no further discussion, I make a motion that we approve agenda item 13 as read.
Second.
There's a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Item 19. Business regular items, item 19. Consider approval of a request from the Coolidge Car Club, Central Avenue, to close Central Avenue between 4th Street and 3rd Street, and 4th Street between Central Avenue and Pinkley Avenue for a cruise-in around San Carlos Park event being held on Saturday, October 22nd, 2016, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Who's got this one?
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and take that. I've been working closely with Lynn Parsons. She might want to add to what I have to say, but basically we had an event similar to this last year on Main Street. Want to do a similar cruise-in on Central Avenue in front of the park between 3rd and 4th Street. And this cruise-in will be, as stated, on October the 22nd, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I think it'll be a great opportunity for people to bring their cars out and enjoy the evening, nice cool evening, and hopefully it'll be as successful as we had with the prior cruise-in on Main.
It was a great turnout. It brought a lot of people into our area. So I think it'll be as successful as it was. The car clubs up north are working together with us, and we're going up there. So I think it's a win-win.
Mr. Mayor, I know that John Hill, one of the other coordinators of this, our Collector Car Club representative, couldn't be here tonight. He apologized for not being here. He has another Collector Car Club meeting, I believe. But he did say he has been out personally to visit with the businesses along the street that would be impacted by the street closure and has found nobody in opposition to the street closure.
Well, that was going to be my question on this one, and subsequent items on the agenda regarding the input from the people that it directly impacts. So he's been down the road, and
He has.
as I think of that street, the barber shop may be the only, I call it a barber shop. What do they call it now? You have here, Gilbert.
Yeah, it's on Main Street, or Coolidge Avenue or Central Avenue? Yeah, that's my brother-in-law, Javier Garcia. And I'm sure he'll be for it.
Yeah, he was out, I think, on Friday. I told him that he needed to be sure to be able to answer that question. He did call me Friday and said, hey, I've been out. So I'll continue to make sure that the word gets out so people aren't surprised. That's a little ways off, and sometimes people tend to forget the date, so we'll continue to let them know so there are no surprises.
You know, I mean, it does impact some traffic. We don't have a great volume of traffic down there on Saturday afternoons.
Right.
But we do want to make sure that the businesses we have down there, there's access to them. So, does anybody have anything? No, down here?
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
I do.
Oh.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor. Go ahead.
Yes. I understand the closing on Central from 3rd to 4th, but I'm curious as to why the side street needs to be closed.
They are planning on having booths in that area on the 4th Street side, and that would be the less impact on any of the sides, I think. We thought that would be the safest.
Okay, I'm not hearing you real well, so Mayor, if you could repeat that.
They're closing that street because they're going to have booths on that side, and they thought that would have the less impact if they closed that particular street.
Okay, so why are they having booths on the street instead of inside the park?
That's a very good question. That's kind of what the car club had in mind, and people walking around in the park. Being a cruise and it's kind of on the outside, I think is what they were more thinking of.
I have experience with that question. I can help with that. Generally, like you said, generally speaking, because the cars are on the outside, they like to keep the people at or around the cars, just not on the cars. And having the food booth similar to how we did this summer along that avenue, it keeps everybody in the center of what's going on instead of having to walk 100 feet, 200 feet away from the cars. They continually want people engaged in what's going on, because when you separate yourself, you kind of lose interest a little bit. You'll eat, then you might wander off and go away. They want you there as long as possible. So to my understanding, that's why many events like this, they do that. They try to keep it right on top of what's going on versus separated, even if it's 100 feet. That's a little too far for them. They like it close.
Right, because they plan on lining both sides.
So that's my explanation of why I understand why they would have 4th Street closed, because it keeps it on top of what's going on, but not right in front of the cars. Because like we did in summer, our booths were right, people were parking right in front of us, so it created a crowd that, kind of confused the vendors versus who's just standing there looking at things. So that's why that's done, in my opinion.
Okay, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, I would think that having the booth in the park would be more around where the cars are instead of clear around the other side.
So, Mr. Miller.
I think again, this is the request came by the Collector Car Club people. I'm not sure we're talking necessarily food booths. I think they were talking about potential food trucks. Trucks would generally rather be in a road on a hard surface rather than. In fact, I think we'd rather have those trucks and vendors like that on a hard surface rather than messing up our park grass and in there. So I think that's just responding to a request in their plan.
Well, that's the way it's written in this agenda item, so.
That's right. That's what they asked for.
Okay, so I really didn't hear what he said.
Jackie, can you hear me okay?
Can you hear?
Jackie, I think to repeat, obviously the Collector Card Club has a plan of action. They've requested Central and 4th Street to be closed. I don't have John here tonight, but I believe that they're looking at food trucks. Generally, a food truck would be better suited on a hard surface out in the street. We'd rather, I think, from a staff standpoint, have those vehicles in the street rather than on our grass in the park. That's just my own personal preference. I'd hate to have those vehicles tearing up our grass and running over other things that are in the park.
Okay, but whenever we have our festivities, Coolidge Days and Cotton Days, there are food trucks on the grass in the park.
I realize that. Those are exceptions, so we've done that for many years traditionally. I think for this request, for this group, they'd prefer to have it in the street.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, these groups, they plan these events all the time. They know what works for them, so I'm good with it.
Mr. Mayor, there's no more discussion. I'd make a motion to approve this request as asked for.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
You got that, Norma?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Item 20, consider approval of the application for extension of premises patio permit submitted by Ms. Stacy Humphreys for Mama Jugs to expand their liquor license consumption area for a blues music and crafts festival being held November 19th through November 20th, 2016. Who has this?
I'll go ahead and take that, Mr. Mayor. We have a request before you. I prepared this item for your consideration. We some time ago received a request by Mr. Jim Smith and Stacy Humphreys, doing business as Mama Jugs, to close Main Street between Roosevelt Avenue and Wilson Avenue for a blues festival that will be held on that street on Saturday, November the 19th of this year from 12 noon until about 1 a.m. This blues festival will host approximately, as their plan calls out, about 23 vendors, if I remember correctly, in the request. They'll have 6 very popular and professional blues bands that would actually play out there in the event, which I think would be a very festive environment. They would like to have an extension of their patio permit, which would allow for the beer to go outside of the actual bar out into the area of the concert in the street area. Obviously, there are many state liquor board requirements for overseeing the consumption of alcohol outside of a premise. This actually falls under that requirement. They have to get permission to do this. There would have to be security on site. They are planning on having their own security, as well as defining the premises that people can actually consume the alcohol on and not go beyond those premises. This is an event like many others. I think we're seeing more requests in the city of Coolidge, which I think is actually good for the city. I think this, as Jim had mentioned in earlier remarks, could potentially bring people from all over the state to a festival, a blues fest like this. We're going to be doing similar events. There's a bluegrass festival in February that the Artisan Village is going to be doing. This same night, interestingly enough, there is a event going on at the Casa Grande Ruins. It is the Native American Arts and Music Festival has been planned for some time now. I don't believe the two crowds will probably conflict with one another. One up at the Casa Grande Ruins, and then of course this one being on a 1-block section in front of the Mama Jugs bar. I do believe Mr. Smith has contacted the other businesses on the street about this event. The Artisan Bread Company, he did talk to them. They are okay with it. The hair salon apparently is going to be closed on that day. The other lots are really empty lots, so we're really not impacting any other businesses other than the bread company, and they're okay with the proposed street closure for that day. Be happy to answer any questions, or Mr. Smith is here to answer any questions you might have specific to the event.
Mr. Mr. Miller, I noticed that they're setting the stage up in front of the Artisan Bread Company. Do they have deliveries and trucks coming in and out on Saturday nights, or do you know?
Well, we had a meeting with the Artisan Bread Company. They believe that they won't be impacted. Most of their deliveries are to the rear of their building in the alley, correct?
And what about security?
I'd like them, Mr. Smith, to maybe answer the security question, but their intentions in their application is to hire a security firm that handles that kind of activity. Is that correct, Jim?
Well, history repeats itself. It's probably the safest place in the state with all the gang task force. But we'd retain a private security firm.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
In regards to the expansion of the liquor area, are we gonna, Jimmy? Are we doing like a beer garden where it's kind of like fenced off a little bit, and it says designated alcohol only, and not beyond a point, where it's gonna be very visual so people know?
What we'd like to do, and as Mr. Miller alluded to, I've got to sit down with the state. This is the first step in securing an expanded license. But once with the state, what I'd like to do is allow drinking from storefront to storefront, and from Russell to Wilson. We'd have to fence in the vacant lots. Hopefully the state will allow me to utilize the buildings as security. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay. Awesome. And it's my understanding, I know a lot of people don't know blues and stuff, but you've got some award-winning blues acts coming there, and you've had at your location the last couple times anyway.
Yeah, Dave Riley has won a Grammy. He's playing Tuesday night, starting at 7 o'clock. If you want to come on down Tuesday night, we have food now. Bob Cortor, he's won an AMA. The Sugar Thieves won an AMA. Hoodoo Casters haven't, but I don't think they're too far off. They've had 7 albums. So each one of these acts are they're not local to Arizona, although they're all from Arizona. Bob Cortor is leaving for Canada. Sugar Thieves are currently in France. So these guys travel around the world.
Is this a free to the public type event? Are you selling tickets to this?
Probably selling tickets depending on how much it costs me.
Okay.
Again, this is the first step, and we didn't want to do too much planning in case it wasn't received favorably. What we envision, to be honest with you, is almost like a Bourbon Street without Mardi Gras, where people can walk down the street, drink in a hand, look at some vendors, purchase some crafts, listen to some world-class music, and have an enjoyable time, and introduce them to the city of Coolidge.
Awesome, thank you.
No, I'm good. I've recognized the bands. They're pretty good. Especially, the Rhythm Room is pretty famous in the Valley. They have really good jazz.
Bob owns the Rhythm Room.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jim? I assume, because on my church fiesta, we have a beer garden there, and of course we ID everybody and then put wristbands on them to identify that they are legal to drink alcohol. I'm sure you're going to be doing the same thing.
I think we're probably the only establishment in Coolidge that does 100% ID check 100% of the time.
Yes, I know you do.
Even local councilmen we ID. But yeah, we'll have a visual system to identify those over 21.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Rob?
I'm going to be voting yes for this, but I want to explain something real quick, especially in light of statements earlier made. The same Bible that leads me to despise overarching governments is the same Bible that tells me that morality matters. And the idea that we shouldn't consider the morality of events, whatever the event, or the institution, whatever the institution. It's not biblical, and it's not American heritage either. Inalienable rights came from our Creator. We do not have inalienable rights to be immoral. Somewhere along the line, everyone must make a decision as to what is wise. I'll be voting yes because I believe in free enterprise. That's a biblical answer.
How dare you, sir? Your Bible is my Bible.
Okay.
And it also says, do not judge.
Mr. Smith, please. All right. Okay. If there's anybody else up here have any questions?
Motion to approve.
Oh, what is it, Vice Mayor?
Did you forget me?
Yes, I
First
did.
of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Humphries and Mr. Smith for wanting to bring events to Coolidge. And I couldn't hear Rick real well. He may have already covered this. But I was just wondering if the Police Chief Walensky and Fire Chief Jarvis saw any problems with closing the street to hindering the welfare and safety of our citizens without public safety being on site.
That's the next agenda item. Closing the street.
Chief, you probably didn't hear that. I did not hear. The Vice Mayor was wondering if you were the Fire Chief had any concerns about closure of the street.
That's the next item.
Neither one of them do, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further,
Motion to approve is read, sir.
Second.
all right, there's a motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, there's, Marietta's, Councilmember Marietta's
I
not.
got it.
Okay. Number 21. Consider approval of a request from Stacy Humphries, DBA, Mama doing business as Mama Jugs, to close Main Street between Roosevelt Avenue and Wilson Avenue for a blues festival on Main Street event being held on Saturday, November 19th, 2016, from 12 p.m. until 1 a.m. And that's, okay, that's pretty much for the same thing we just went through.
Yep.
Okay.
No questions?
No questions? Good
Okay.
deal.
There's no questions?
Motion to approve?
I would second that.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, looks like that's done. Number 22, consider approval of a classification change for recreational coordinators from exempt to non-exempt to comply with new changes set forth by the Department of Labor. Exempt employees require the employee to make $47,400 per year to be classified as exempt. Our coordinators are currently paid in the mid to high $30,000 range. James, come on, what are we going to do? We change it for one reason and now we can't do something for federal law too, or what's happening?
Well, what happened was, I'm sure you've all heard about the changes in classification. The threshold originally was going to be about 50,000, but they settled on 47,400. That is the cutoff. No matter what your responsibilities are, if you don't make that, you have to be considered non-exempt.
Well, and that's the law, right?
Right.
I guess that does it. Well, I shouldn't say that, Mr.
Well,
Fitzgibbons, if we don't.
excuse me, I was going to say,
Go ahead.
the other option is to raise their salaries to 47.4 if they wanted to be, if you wanted them to remain exempt. That's the other option.
Well, that's not an option we're considering tonight. So, does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Can you explain what the non-exempt exempt means for everybody?
Well, non-exempt and exempt are basically terms that have to do with overtime. Exempt employees are exempt from overtime. Non-exempt employees are not. They can get overtime. And what really brought this legislation forward was, I can remember back in my younger years, I was in restaurant management, and you may work 60 hours a week and you were exempt, but you made $200 or $300 a week. And what happened normally, or formally, I think the threshold was about $300 something a week. It was about $26,000 a year. By raising that threshold, that really cuts out of what the government sees as abuse or as abusing people and misclassifying them. Basically, that's the premise behind this move.
Okay. So the employees will be able to accrue overtime then, the ones that...
They will be able to do have comp time and overtime if that was however the city does that.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve is read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. Item 23, consider approval of changing the name for the Growth Management Department to Development Services Department, and approval to amend the job description from the title of Growth Management Director to Development Services Director to reflect the proposed name change for the department. You're trying to trick me, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
All right. And I guess that's you, Mr.
Still me.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, the city manager really recommended this change, and I think the rationale behind that was he felt the verbiage of service, of changing the name to services, really best aligns our mission, which is to serve people, than to manage them. And it seems like to me a good idea also.
Anybody have any?
No, I like the idea myself.
Yeah, Mayor, it falls in line with the position in a lot of other municipalities in the city, so you kind of know what you're doing as far as the employee.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the name changes goes in line with how Mr. Miller, as our new city manager, how he operates. He sees everybody as a team. It's a group effort. We're here to serve everybody versus I'm the manager, so that's what I do, although he is a good manager. So I think this speaks volumes about his vision for our city and our departments, and we're actually changing so we appear to be serviceable. We want the help, not control. So I think it's an excellent decision and good change.
Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I just want to say that I totally agree with this, because after working there, everybody always thought it was gross management, not gross.
Gross mismanagement?
Gross management.
Gross negligence.
I mean, that's what it was previously, I think several years ago, so I'm glad that it's being changed back.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, if there's no further discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the change as rated.
Second.
Stated.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Item number 24, consider approval to unfreeze capital sales tax funds. Purchase one 2016 Chevrolet pickup fully equipped from Garrett Motors in the amount of $56,000, utilizing capital sales tax funds for the Coolidge Fire Department and waiving the sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. Chief?
Okay, Mayor and Council, this is to replace our current Tahoe that is way past its prime. It's over 17 years old, has well over 100,000 miles on it. It's in need of well over $3,000 worth of repairs. The Blue Book value of it was just in the low 2,000s, and it's not functional for what we need. We're calling it a command vehicle. Some people would say it's a chief's vehicle. Its purpose is to respond to calls and to give me a mobile office where I can take command of these incidents and keep track of people, safety, and so that we can mitigate hazards in town. This truck is also used for me to get to and from meetings while maintaining my equipment in a ready state without having to rush back to the station or anything of that nature. So we have picked a pickup truck because it's the most functional. It allows us to pull the trailer that we use for game night and other activities. It also allows us to provide for safety because turnouts and all the carcinogens and all the bad stuff stays in the bed of the truck, doesn't come up in the cab, so that if I have people riding with me, they're not exposed to those harmful things. I have talked to Mr. Garrett. He is willing to work with us with MHQ so that we can also do the lights and radios and all those extra things that a command vehicle needs. And then they'll bring it back, and then it'll be billed through Garrett Motors, so that keeps even more of the sales tax and profits in Coolidge. I'll entertain questions.
Mr. Mayor, there's one other thing. I know we've had a conversation about whether this vehicle would be driven home. The chief says that he would not drive the vehicle home in the evening to his house, which is not inside the city limits. So that vehicle would remain in the city for the city's use. That's the idea. It's not a carpool vehicle. This is a necessary vehicle. There's a very large trailer that this vehicle will be able to pull that our current vehicle can't. The smoke trailer that goes out on game night. We believe that this will be to replace a 17-year-old vehicle. If we get that many years out of this one, we'll be doing really well. But it is an essential vehicle. I've been in the old one. It's not one that I would probably drive anywhere outside the city limits. It's just not very safe, and it's much needed.
No, Mayor, I was down at the Public Works and the mechanic shop down there. When I went in there, I saw that Tahoe in there, and I asked Mark Harrison, "We're not spending any money on this vehicle, are we?" And they said, "No, they're just getting an estimate to see what it costs to repair it." That vehicle needs to be replaced. It has needed to be replaced for the last 3 or 4 years. And the one that Mickey used to drive, is that going to be passed down?
Yes, that will still be maintained by the fire department, that particular truck, for use in any number of capacities. Once again, sometimes firefighters respond to calls where we don't need an engine. They can use that vehicle. If they're going to and from classes where they need to transport equipment, they can use that vehicle. That way we, once again, keep all those carcinogens and all that nasty stuff that's on our turnouts and SCBAs out of vehicles that other people are in.
I think it's money well spent.
Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
My question is so they feel that we need 2 pickup trucks?
Do you think we need 2 trucks? We have one that Mickey used to use.
We have, right now we currently have two trucks. Well, we have a Tahoe in the truck. The truck is more functional than replacing a Tahoe with a Tahoe. But yes, we do maintain 2 trucks. That way if one truck's down, we have that spare. We also have the ability for the firefighters to use that vehicle while I'm at meetings or away from the station conducting other business. And it's much more functional and much cheaper to run that truck when we need to do other activities than it is to drive a large engine down the street.
A Tahoe would actually cost more money.
What did they say about the Tahoe?
It would cost more money, Jackie?
Pardon me?
It would cost more money
Oh, the Tahoe would cost more money?
to run it, yeah.
Okay. So the only other statement that I would like to make is I would like to see that this vehicle is marked properly as a fire department vehicle.
Put pretty stickers on it.
Okay. We're not going to go overboard with it, but yeah, it'll be marked. I'm not going to spend a lot of money on fancy stuff. We're going to make it practical.
Well, it needs to look like a fire department vehicle.
Right.
The old one just got like a little gold.
And
I
agree with the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, we'll put
The other one looks like it belongs to a golf course. I mean, it really does.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Nice big fire on the side of the truck. Chief Jarvis on the tailgate. You know?
So, anything else on this?
You have to make a motion to approve. There's nothing else, sir.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there we go. Consider approval to unfreeze capital sales tax in the amount of $16,000 to purchase firefighters' structural turnout gear, personnel, protective equipment for the Coolidge Fire Department. Chief?
Okay. Every year we try and replace turnout equipment. This year, what I'm looking at doing is I'm not going to replace entire sets. To start off with, I have 17 helmets that are well past their prime. We consider the life of a fire helmet, just like turnouts, to be 10 years. I have several that this year are turning 12 years old, which puts us out of compliance. We also have other turnouts that we'll need to replace, but we're going to hold that money till later in the year. So we're just asking to unfreeze this money at this time so we can purchase the turnouts as we need them moving forward.
Councilmember?
Is there a specific reason? Why don't we just, if we have the money budgeted, just buy the equipment we need now so we have it done?
Well, what my philosophy at this point is, and I'll back up and kind of get off track here just a little bit. Today I was notified that we were awarded through the safety stipend from the 100 Club 3 sets of head-to-toe gear. That'll be coming forth next meeting, and we'll purchase 3 sets with that. I would like to keep whatever I don't spend on the helmets so that between now and next May, if somebody has a set of turnouts that fails, I have that money so that we can purchase them and not have to do some type of emergency funds or steal from some other part of the fire department budget.
Makes sense.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
With the turnout, are we going to get on a rotation with this to where we purchase so many one year and some the next? Because I know I brought this up previously because we were going to go out and purchase, I think, all of them at one point in time, and I was just wondering if they were going to do, start that rotation type thing. I understand public safety, and so I'm all for it. I just want to make sure that we get on a rotation type thing, so we're not having to go and purchase a bunch of them at one time.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. Actually, I've kind of put us on a rotation already. Last year we did 5 sets through the 100 Club. We did 3 additional sets through the budget. This year we're doing 3 through the 100 Club, and then we'll do a couple additional sets with our monies that we have that we're setting aside if we don't spend it for some type of emergency purchase of turnouts. So I'm trying to get us on a cycle where we're doing like 5 or 6 sets of turnouts a year, so that at the end of about 6 years, 7 years, we're starting it back at the beginning of the cycle. So we never really bump up against that expiration date where we have to make a mass purchase.
Did you hear that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Motion to approve, sir?
I move to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 26, consider approval of entering into an agreement to operate intercity bus service between Greyhound Lines and the City of Coolidge for Central Arizona Regional Transit CART services for the purpose of providing transportation services to and from the Greyhound bus station in Casa Grande, Arizona. Welcome, Jill.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Before you this evening, you do have an agreement with Greyhound Bus Lines. It is the agreement that I passed out to you. What was in your packet was the original agreement from Greyhound. Our attorneys did review the agreement. We did make some revisions and send it back to Greyhound. We got the agreement back today. Basically, what this agreement allows to have happen if we connect with the Greyhound Center in Casa Grande is Greyhound will pay us for every ticket we issue for someone to ride or traverse on the Greyhound system. So they could buy a ticket from Greyhound here in Coolidge. It would be ticketed out of the transit facility, and they could go to any destination Greyhound serves. We would receive $4 per ticket that we issue, so it is a public-private partnership that we're working towards. Additionally, we were informed by ADOT, the funding stream of resources that we have for our regional CART transit system does require us to connect to an inner city location. ADOT had interpreted that as a rural community connecting to an urban community. However, when they were monitored by the federal government last year, the feds identified that they must connect to an inner city bus service. So in order to facilitate the award of 5311F funding, that's our intercity funding, we must connect with Greyhound, and Greyhound was gracious to offer this ticketing option for us. Their bus station location is at the Chevron station at Pinal and Florence in Casa Grande. So it would require an extension of our service, and that will be the second item that follows this evening. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Unfortunately, staff right now cannot guesstimate how many tickets we will sell, since it is a new venture and it's not something that we've been working with them on before.
I'm sure you'll advertise it somehow so the people in town know that they can come here and buy a Greyhound ticket, okay?
That is correct.
You handed this to us just before. I'm sure I'm sure they all read the old one. Could you tell us what the changes were?
Sure. The changes are very minor. We did, if you noticed in the original agreement, they mentioned CART, Central Arizona Regional Transit. It has been changed to the City of Coolidge because that is the legal entity that enters into any agreement. Our attorneys did request that Greyhound indemnify and insure us as well as us insuring them. They do clarify that we are a recipient of 5311F funding, and if that funding goes away, there is a 30-day termination or cancellation clause to the agreement, which is fairly standard. They did identify there are federal certifications that we must comply with, and then we added language about undocumented workers and conflict of interest.
Is that the same language that's in every contract you get?
Every contract.
That issue?
That is correct.
Thank you.
One item that our attorneys did add is governing law venue. They requested that if there was a dispute that it would be here in Pinal County. Greyhound asked for that to be removed, but they did not identify a venue. So the agreement will be silent on venue. Since services are offered here in Pinal County, we feel that Mr. Fitzgibbons and his staff could answer that better, but their recommendation would be that it would be in a court here in Pinal County if something did happen. So it was pretty good. Most of the changes that we recommended were accepted by Greyhound, and we're looking forward to working with them.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I agree with everything Ms. Dusenberry said. We typically demand the venue provision, but here Greyhound, I guess, is a Texas company. They do business all throughout Arizona, so if anything would have come up, they're going to be in Arizona. We don't do business in Texas, so it's natural that anything would go to court here in Pinal County where we are. So I think we're comfortable with it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vice Mayor, do you have anything?
No.
Down here,
Nope, I'm good.
okay. I'm hearing nothing. I look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
I move that we approve and enter into the agreement to operate the intercity bus service with Greyhound as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item 27, consider approval of modifying the CART bus route.
If we're going to have an agreement with Greyhound to serve and provide their tickets, we need to be able to reach their station. As I did say in the previous item, it is the Chevron station at Pinal and Florence Boulevard. We have provided you a proposed schedule of times. We would go into that station 4 times a day, approximately 9 o'clock in the morning, 12:15, 3:20 or so, and around 6:30. In order to meet the requirements of Greyhound, we must pick up or deliver passengers to them within a 2-hour window of when they have a bus coming through. Those 4 times meet the 2-hour window. We would not change the schedule for our regional service for the commuter buses. In the morning, we put an extra commuter bus on, and in the evening, we put an extra commuter bus on. Those commuter buses will not go to Greyhound. It would just be the normal service levels throughout the day where we could be within the 2-hour window according to Greyhound standards. So staff is requesting your approval to modify our schedule to go into Greyhound 4 times a day. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions?
Motion to approve is read.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Resolution number 16-22, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, Arizona, declaring and adopting the results of the primary election held on August 30th, 2016. Is that you, Noah?
Yes, it's me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight for approval and adoption is the resolution that canvasses the results of the primary election held on August 30th, 2016. It declares that an election was held in the city of Coolidge and that the election returns have been presented to me, and they are as follows. The total number of ballots cast at that primary election were 1,439. 83 of those ballots needed to be verified, and 4 came back as ineligible. Reasons being they maybe voted twice, or they voted in the wrong precinct, or weren't registered for City of Coolidge. The total votes cast for the office of mayor were 1,226 for candidate John Thompson, and 28 for unofficial write-ins. What that means is no one ever came in and actually filed paperwork with me to be a write-in. So therefore, that's the number that came in. The total votes cast for the office of council was 422 for candidate Chris Fox, 829 for Jackie Henry, 929 for Steve Hudson, 478 for Kevin Todd, 825 for Jimmy Walker, and 6 unofficial write-ins. The majority for the office of candidate was 500. They had to receive 582 or more votes. Therefore, the 3 councils that were elected at the primary are Jackie Henry, Steve Hudson, and Jimmy Walker, and of course John Thompson, since you ran unopposed. So with that being said, all 4 are declared elected, and there will not be a need for a general election in November. With that being said, what we'll do is we'll come back in the first meeting in December. Actually, it's our only meeting in December. We'll swear in the council and the mayor, and you'll have election of officers at that time. You'll have the selection of vice mayor, and then that new, I think we have 3 incumbents coming back, and then that newly appointed candidate will take seat at that meeting. So, and I can answer any questions you may have. Yes.
Just to clarify, and I know what you meant when you said we're not going to have a general election. We're still having a general election, just not for local offices.
Correct. Not for the.
That's clear.
We will still have an election in the city of Coolidge, but it will not be for the office of mayor and/or council.
We won't be paying for it.
Yes.
I also want to add, I'm very disappointed with voter turnout. I mean, even the local positions are very, very important.
Right.
And we hear just as much. The public has a lot to say, but then they don't turn out to vote. And it's discouraging. I mean,
right.
It's your city. You need to come out and cast votes, and I hope we have a better turnout in November because it's a very important election for our country. So I hope everybody comes out with it.
Very well said, Councilmember Lewis.
Okay, thank you. We've got a report for the mayor and city council.
Mayor, we need to vote.
We didn't vote on
I'd
it.
like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 16-22.
Second.
Yep.
Yes, please make it official. Okay, Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can move forward now.
You can move forward.
Thank Report from the mayor, council, and/or city manager. We'll start down here with Councilmember Lopez. Thank
you, Mayor. I just want to say I finished my MBA last Wednesday, so 18 months. So I aced every class. So
Your daughter did the homework for you?
No, I helped her last night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I attended the Cabot 9/11 memorial this morning. It was a great ceremony. Also had a meeting today at 10 o'clock with United Dance Crew, and that's the dance crew that we approved for them to go into an agreement, Lisa Cooley's building here. It was a great meeting. Norma and Rick, myself, Ricky LaPaglia, Sean Brinkerhoff and Mike Brinkerhoff, Lynn Parsons, and of course the Cordova family. We got a great group of people put together, and we have an agenda set. We have a start date and an end date. It found out it's going to cost about $100,000 for the United Dance Crew to get that building to where they could use it, and it's very exciting to be a part of it. It's going to be great. I think it's March 15th, as we hope to have a grand opening on that. So it's going to be a great addition to the city of Coolidge, and it's just great to be a part of it. And then I want to thank the citizens of Coolidge for electing me to be your city council member for the next 4 years. Thank you very much for your support.
The League of Cities was excellent. Again, I think really last year, this year, the biggest plus for me is just the fact that we get together and the relationships you build, because you're able to talk about many things, and not only politics, but just a lot of things, and be able to get to know people's perspectives. So it was a really enjoyable time to get away. Thanks for the city to provide that for us.
I attended the second City of Coolidge Youth Council meeting, and I'm so excited to see what our youth are going to do.
Thank you. Councilmember.
Yes, sir. A few things. Attended the League of Cities conference. I think the vast majority of us, and department heads for the most part, all of them. I think we're missing a couple. Attended. It was great to be able to, I don't know, hang out and talk and visit with staff, and of course the council members. You know, we had some lunches outside the event that was nice. Some good speakers and not so good speakers. Some good events. I did want to comment. It's something funny that happened that not everybody knew about. One of the nights I messaged Rick Miller and I said, "Bring everybody out to this." There was this courtyard, and they had these lights strung across the top, real fancy. And Rob and I walked by and were like, "This people should be dancing right here. This is what this needs to be done." So I messaged Rick and said, "Hey, bring all the Coolidge folks out here. I got a surprise for them." We borrowed the boombox from the hotel room and plugged it in and put an iPod on it and had music. Rick and his wife joined Rob and I and our wives dancing. The rest of everybody just looked at us funny. So in the middle of it, they were kind of bummed that that was my big surprise. Then all of a sudden, fireworks started going off in the background. So I took credit for it, and I had nothing to do with it. But it couldn't have worked out better. And it's moments like that, like that's what I enjoy with hanging out with everybody we work with and we serve with. You know, the little classes and stuff are a bonus, but that was really something. I enjoyed it, you know, standing there on the lawn with the lights with my wife, watching Rick and his wife. It's just happiness, you know what I mean? So I really enjoyed it, and I think the city, that's the environment that, you know, when I ran 2 years ago, that I want to bring to the city. And I think finally, with Rick at the helm of this ship that we're on, that stuff's going to start happening, so I'm excited for that. And then also, this last Saturday, I attended the memorial service for Mr. John Ali. It was held here in Coolidge at the Performing Arts Center, which I got to tell you, if you haven't been in the place, it's a fantastic place, and we about 75% full for the service, and this is why we had it there. If you don't know Mr. Ali, he was an administrator for the Coolidge Unified School District for many years. Then he went to the Florence School District for many years, and was my wife's boss for a few. And then after a bad deal there, he came back to Coolidge and worked with Miss Wallace, the superintendent. And this is a very loved man, and through the service you can see every life that this man touched. So it was very great to see a lot of Coolidge people showed up for this. A few that I know didn't know him based on conversations, but they just wanted to pay their respects. So it was a good service, and the fact that Coolidge has a venue that can hold this many people was outstanding. And I hope people visit the PAC Center, because I believe we're coming up on the season of plays and performances there. They usually during the fall and winter we have a lot of stuff going on. So take advantage of what the city has to offer. It's a great location. I am sad to say that was the first time I've ever been in there. Usually all the performances I'm working, and I've never been able to go in there. But yeah, I love the facility. Also had a couple meetings with Mr. Miller, and then not unofficial meetings with Ms. Parsons. We're going to move forward and bring a festivities that I mentioned when I ran involving food trucks. It's second Saturdays is kind of what we're going to call it during the cool months to bring our community together. And we're going to have at least once a month a good event for local vendors and statewide vendors to show, our community working together. It's going to be a fun event. Very, very beginning in the thing. We're going to get it done rather quickly. At least Rick tells me let's get it done rather quickly. And I've been trying for 2 years to try to move on this, and I talked to him at League of Cities, and within 5 seconds he goes, let's get it done. Is tomorrow done? Is it ready yet? So we're moving forward with that. Also, I know I talk about my son a lot in his weightlifting ventures. We are local. He's a local kid. And we will be traveling to Seattle here in a few weeks because he qualified for a national CrossFit competition. He'll be one of, I think, 15 teenagers in the teenage division. So hopefully he'll come back with a podium finish for that. If not, it's all right. He's one of the top in our state, so I'm looking forward to taking him to see. He's been to Texas for this, but Seattle's a new place for him to compete, and the level of competition's a little bit harder than what he faced before. So looking forward to that. And again, congratulate all the winners of the local elections. I like to know who Steve paid to get so many votes because he killed it. But I'm glad.
It cost me a dime.
Yeah, I respect Steve a lot. I'm glad the voters put him back. So along with the other two, I'm glad to have Jimmy on board. But that's it. So I know I talked a lot tonight. Sorry for that. It's been a while.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor, I didn't see her there.
Yes, I was just wondering what happened to the 5 minutes or less.
Well, Mr. Lewis doesn't adhere to any of those rules. Go ahead.
I took 3 of yours. Make it fast.
First of all, I'd like to thank the citizens for electing me to another 4-year term and to congratulate Steve and Jimmy. And the only other thing I can think of was I attended the League of Cities. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller?
I'd like to acknowledge Vern. He worked very hard to make sure that light wasn't blinking up there, and I hope you guys noticed the difference this evening. That was a very tricky light. It took a lot of effort to figure out what the real problem was there, and he told me today that it was very difficult to figure out, but he's the man. He did that. He did a great job. So we thank Vern for that. The League of Cities Conference was very beneficial. I learned a lot. It was really the first one going to an event like that. I certainly enjoyed the different presentations that were offered. I went and attended one of the more interesting was on the recreational marijuana discussion that was heavily attended by people throughout the state that were interested in knowing what the impact of the passage of that law will be, and we'll stay tuned on that and its impacts. It was a good chance to get to know each of you better. I did enjoy that very much and appreciate it. And that's all I really have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I don't have too much. I attended the League of Cities along with the council. I did spend a lot of time. I had a lot of time to spend with the Youth Council at the League of Cities. Had lunch with them. I watched Mr. Brinkerhoff, one of our council members, participate in a training and a presentation there, and I would say that he was probably, of all the kids that participated, he did better than the ones from the other communities. So he spoke very highly of Coolidge. Some of the other students from some of the other communities didn't have anything nice to say about their community. So I was glad that he represented us very well. He represented the youth of Coolidge very well. Let's see. Yeah, and I was at Cabot with Councilmember Hudson today, and it was a very good ceremony. We really appreciate all the work that was put in by the police and fire and the people at Cabot. They did an excellent job, as they always do. So, and congratulations. I'm looking forward to working with the council for the next couple of years, and I think we can make some progress. So.
Oh, and thanks to Imagine School for the Grandparents' Day today. We had ice cream, Mr. Thompson.
Don't admit to taking that ice cream.
You're old enough to be a grandparent?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of times. But anyway, yeah, that's a nice little event.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the Grandparents' Day over at Imagine. So we didn't have to post it. There was only 2 of us. No.
Good.
No, we're good. Anyway, If there's nothing else further, I would...
Mayor,
Oh,
Mayor, I'm
yes.
sorry I forgot to congratulate you.
Well, thank you. Okay, we're ready to go? Motion to...
Motion to adjourn this
Is there a
meeting.
second? Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.